G'day, friends. Welcome to the Buddez podcast. When you're running a small business, one of the last things you're probably thinking about is IT and IT security, but it may be something you should seriously consider putting plans around because it could be literally completely destructive to the business. That's why we thought it was important to speak with Brendan Stenner from Particle IT. When we talk about the main issues facing small businesses and IT, particularly the security issue, let's talk to Brendan. G'day, Brendan. Welcome to the Buddies podcast. How
Hey,
are you,
Pete,
mate?
thanks for having me. I'm good. How
That
are you?
absolute pleasure. I'm good now because I'm interested in your business because
Mm,
your business is an IT business that helps other businesses with their IT. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So, because obviously our listeners are small business people, and I'm interested in like what sort of things you think small businesses should be considering when they're thinking about IT.
I think that all small businesses should be mindful of access to their systems. So who has access? Should they have access? Have they got access to more data than they should?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
probably a pillar. I mean, a lot of businesses have founded on the idea of their intellectual property.
yep.
So it's, hey, I've got this great idea. I can do this thing that no one else is doing. And the owners of those businesses or the creators of that intellectual property spend a lot of time, a lot of energy and effort turning an idea into a usable product, a saleable product. And for us, looking after people's systems or especially new client systems, it's often a shock to the owners of the business that their data that they thought was confidential or was protected by limited to a few people is not. So I think around access is really important and ongoing audits. So making sure systems are secure, making sure people that are in there could be a retired user or it could be a person that's on leave for an extended period of time, limiting their access just momentarily.
Yeah. Okay.
And on the back of that, things around cyber awareness training, making sure that if there's invoices coming in from third parties, if something looks suspicious, so bank details change, or all of a sudden, yeah, we've done this thing as a vendor that
Mm,
they buy products for you or they sell things to you that you pay them for, that you're not being scammed. That's
mm.
common. We talk to customers about that probably once a week
Wow.
about
Okay.
we almost paid an invoice that was for something that we shouldn't have paid,
Mm.
and we've paid it, and we're now fighting the bank to reverse that or cover it with insurance or something like that. So it's really heartbreaking when that happens.
Yes. It's almost like a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because from my point of view, I'm not IT literate at all, and I feel like the suppliers are telling me I'm buying these like easier to use
Yeah.
systems, like do it myself, DIY,
Yes.
all that sort of stuff. But as I'm doing more and more myself, particularly as a
Mm.
small business owner,
Yeah. As we do.
I may be creating a bigger risk profile for me and my business.
Potentially, yeah. And this
Yeah,
is where even having things reviewed once just annually, just
yeah,
getting
yeah,
getting your trusted IT person to come and have a look and say, hey, your secure scores at a certain point. There's users here. Should all those users still be in the system? And
yeah.
there's a cost saving there too. I mean, if you're working with contractors, VAs, PAs overseas, and you're paying for a license, so they look like they're sitting next to you in the office, you're likely paying for that. So from a licensing perspective, if they've departed or they've been moved somewhere else or
Yeah.
you're doing limited hours, there's an opportunity to save some costs there too,
Okay. Okay.
which is often on everyone's mind about making sure that we're spending money where we need to spend it. And if we don't, let's spend it somewhere else
Yes, and
or
I
not
guess
spend it.
yeah,
Pay
don't
pay
spend
debt.
yeah, don't
Don't
spend it
spend
all.
it.
I like that idea. I like that idea. It's interesting too, isn't it? Because you think a lot of people might think, "Oh, I call my IT person when I want to buy a new system, right? I,
Yes.
I I need like maybe every couple of years I want to buy a
Yep.
new
Yeah.
PC or a new whatever I'm buying. But it sounds
Exactly.
like there's a lot more to it than just hardware.
There is, yeah. I mean, if you've got cloud systems like Microsoft 365 or Google's G Suite, or if you're using another email provider out there, there are lots of tools that are often provided as part of the package you pay for, and it's just often turning on a couple of boxes that say, how will we handle this? How will we handle that? All that ties into as well as things like having good antivirus It doesn't necessarily mean the one that you've had for the last 10 years is the right one. It,
Mm.
might not be fit for purpose anymore, and you might be get a better deal with a different product. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, we all talk about shopping around, and being well informed is really important. And that's sort of on the back of my commentary around having things audited at least once a year. If you can't afford once a year, I mean, set a baseline at some point, and you might be either really shocked that it's really bad and there's room for real improvement, or you're sailing along really nicely and you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, and that's
Not
just
all
like
doom and gloom.
no, that's just like assurances. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
assured that, yeah, we're
Yes.
okay, and I'm not
That's
gonna
right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I I mean, you were talking earlier about IP breaches. Is that something that you've seen before? Like
Yes.
people
Yep.
yeah, what's
Leaving the
happened?
business, taking
What have you seen?
We've seen a customer that manufactures children's toys have a disgruntled employee basically lift up all the information like schematics, diagrams of documentation, scope of actual product, supplier details, copying that onto, like a USB key, just like this,
Mm,
and
yeah,
walking out the door with it. So there's lots of tools available, and some small business may even have the licenses for this, for things like data loss prevention that comes as part of Microsoft 365, and that gives a bit of visibility on documentation. If you're trying to access your documents from outside of your computer system, you can't access them without a corporate sign-in.
uh, okay.
It comes down to, I suppose, good onboarding and good offboarding, which is another thing I'd recommend, making sure that you've got good offboarding and good onboarding. So when someone departs, you can quickly remove their access, not because they're a bad person, not because they've done anything wrong or they're just insinuating anything's done wrong, but I just think it's important that you're protecting yourself and you're also protecting them, really.
Yeah.
Yes, recovering, not so much recovering the data for them in this case, but just providing evidence that that data had been copied by this employee, and then that leads down the legal route, which is probably out of our scope.
So, I guess we wouldn't need the legal route if we do the right onboarding,
If you
offboarding.
limit the employee's ability to take that data in the first place, or you make it harder, where you have an audit trail saying there's access, and perhaps if there's patterns of access that might indicate something's wrong, and setting
Mm,
up automatic alerting that might say, hey, this person's doing this. Things like data loss prevention are also good for accidental breaches of information. So
okay.
there might be not an employee list, like a customer list, and that customer list may have credit card information in it, or it might have personal identifiable information in it. If someone accidentally picks up the wrong file, tries to email that externally, there are systems that can be put in place that would block that and flag that with, the owner of the business, if you like, or the IT department or something, to say this has happened, this is an incident, and then address it. And it might just be, I picked up the wrong file, not meaning any harm, I just messed up, and the
Mm,
system was there to protect that from leaving and perhaps ending up in the wrong hands.
yes. And I guess as small businesses expand, often
Yes,
the owner is the person, like, super busy doing like, wearing
everything.
multiple hats, and they're
Yes,
probably
always. Yeah,
like, IT is probably, like, towards the bottom of the list,
yeah, 100%,
not
100%.
the
If it
top.
works, you turn up and your emails flowing in, your laptop works, you're not thinking about that likely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so it's interesting too. I've seen a few businesses now where they don't permit USB drives, for
Mhm.
example. I think is that for that reason?
That is a way to mitigate people actually copying data, but at the same time, that can be mitigated as well by emailing it externally. The old trick of emailing it somewhere else, emailing files somewhere else, deleting it from your sent items, deleting it from
Ah,
your deleted items. So having good cloud backups important as well that can pick up on parts of that, or
yeah,
having good retention is really important there. So that flagging, that monitoring, that alerting is very useful and very important.
yeah, yeah.
So I guess going down the line of how do you protect that? I mean, there's also a person could bring the document up on screen and take a photo of it with their phone. We've done work for a large mortgage settlements institute in Australia, and they have had concerns, had restrictions put in place around protecting document flow. So using tools like data loss prevention, blocking USB keys, blocking email externally, or filtering that email externally. So they can only send attachments that are so big. And if that's flagged with their manager, for example, but to the point of you can't take your mobile phone in. I mean, that's extreme in a lot of cases. I think,
Wow.
imagine your listeners would probably say, wow, you need to trust your people, and you do.
Mm, mm.
And I think it's the one or two bad eggs in there that make it it really difficult for everyone else. But it depends on what you do. I suppose if you were manufacturing something that was that your competitors would want to steal from you,
Yeah, yeah,
and how you handle that is a case by case basis.
yeah. And it may not be the product; it may just be the
Yeah,
process you're
exactly. Yeah,
using
100%. It's
to
like
make it.
the ingredients in a medicine, that components are easily available, but the mix of
The
this
mix, yeah,
this part to that part to that part
yeah,
is actually the secret.
the secret sauce, which
It
is
is, yeah. It's the recipe.
it's the recipe. It's the Colonel Sanders
It is, yeah. Yeah.
11 herbs and spices, or
11 herbs
the way McDonald's, I think they only ever use the same potato and chop it a certain way, and
probably.
so that they taste the same all over the world, which they don't,
Yeah.
by the way.
No, they don't.
I
No,
I've
they're
I've
normally
tried Macca's
salty.
in different parts of
Oh,
the world, and it definitely like, everything tastes different, not just so I think that's a claim that's a bit of an
it's
exaggeration.
a bad time for you to be talking about McDonald's and KFC right now.
Why is that?
12:44. 12:44
Ah,
on a Wednesday.
lunchtime. It's lunchtime. I think, that's like my guilty pleasure. Like, I'm feeling really bad.
Yeah.
There's a KFC and a Macca's not far from here, and
Yeah.
I'll go and get something I know is the wrong thing, as like a
Yeah.
treat to
Absolutely.
make myself feel better, but actually you feel worse. But you think about those companies, you think like the KFCs and Maccas, to a large extent, they're when you're buying a franchise,
Mm.
you're buying IP, right?
You are, yeah.
You're buying how to make that chicken, how to make those
Yep.
fries, how to
Yep.
make those shakes. So
Yep. And they still, even buying that franchise, they still protect that with, you get a bag that says, chicken, 11 herbs and spices. It doesn't tell you what's in it. It's, probably full of maltodextrin and,
that's right.
some
Yeah,
salt and some sodium and some MSG, and the rest is it's a secret.
I think that's with Coke and Pepsi too. I think they
100%.
have Coke bottlers, so you're a bottler, but they send you what to put
The
in the
mix.
bottle, the mix. You can't mix it yourself. So this is, I guess, when you're a small business, you don't think like
Mm.
this. I think, oh,
No.
that's my IP, do you?
Yeah, and there's the same with security and looking at auditing systems and things like that. A lot of interactions we have with small business is, but where no one would be interested in us, no one would want to attack us, no one would bother. But it's quite the opposite. If there's a mass opportunity for an attacker to leverage a vulnerability in there, that
Yeah,
they can find information that the owner of the business, first name, title, if they have a special title, and then the accounts detail person or email to say, and pretend to be that person. So someone emailing in saying, pretending they're Pete, and saying, g'day accounts, I need you to pay this invoice. I'm on the road at the moment. My old phone broke. I've got a new phone at the moment. And it's amazing that net gets cast on hundreds of thousands of individuals, how successful it often is.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
why would they bother with me? Well, if I suppose once a scammer, always a scammer. They're always trying. If there's somehow they can get $1 out of you, whether it's a dollar or $100, or $10,000, they're keen.
Yes, I think sometimes too. From what I've seen on some of these Netflix shows on
Mm,
these kids that like hack into the CIA or wherever they're
yeah,
hacking into, they're doing it for fun. They're not doing it for
absolutely.
money. They're
Yeah.
doing it to see, well, for a bit of sport. That's a hobby of theirs to hack into systems, to hack
But
into
to the
you, and
point, some of
yeah,
these businesses that do mass target, Australian businesses, small and medium and big, imagine a call center where it's a business. It's a
mm,
likely underworld mafia run business, and that's what they're doing. Their job as employees for this business is to go out there and scam as much as you can get. So
yeah,
it's like having paid employment in a call center to pick up and try and sell raffle tickets. Not that I'm comparing the two. I'm simply stating that it's for them a legitimate job. It's a
yeah,
legitimate.
yeah,
I mean, there's 100 other people here. Like, there might be in a call center, and they're all calling, trying to sell something, or trying to get some information, or trying to get some access, trying to get some leverage.
yes, yes. So we should be concerned about that. I'm just curious too about like your take on hardware too. I mean, there's in my lifetime, it seems like hardware is changing bigger, faster, like bigger changes happening quicker.
Yes,
What should I be aware of in the hardware domain? Is there like, is it used by dates? Is it something I should be thinking about in the
I
hardware
think
space?
probably the best way for me to answer your question is a slightly different approach.
Yeah.
So Windows 10 was recently end of life. I mean, there'd been lots of notice about Windows 10 was coming to its end of life. No updates would be available for Windows 10. following X date. And yeah, Microsoft's released Windows 11, which is available. It's been in mainstream for many years now. But the reluctance of people to move away from Windows 10 and or trying to upgrade at the last minute and having hardware that's not compatible. So
Mm.
things like trusted platform modules. So modern computers have this security module that allows data to be encrypted.
Oh.
Older machines don't have that. So you do get and using your phrase from earlier, a double-edged sword of upgrading hardware regularly, even if that's every 3 to 4 to 5 years. I think you can write off laptops every 2.5 years if that's something that your business can afford to do, and then maybe pass them down the chain. So if you're the business owner and you want the good gear, use that for 2.5 years, get something new, pass it down the line, and it means that you're going to have hardware across your entire team that's relatively modern.
Mm-mm.
I.e., it's not 10 years old and it just goes. I mean, it's often inconvenient to change as well because we've got some old applications we really use and they're not compatible or they don't work. So the take on hardware is look to upgrade it every 3 to 5 years, depending on what your appetite is, depending on what your need is. Something we see regularly is an employee's role has changed.
Okay.
So he or she might have started in a position of doing data entry or being reception or doing sales, and all of a sudden they're creating content. That might be images for the business, brochures. They're using
Yeah.
Photoshop now. They need more horsepower to, yeah, even to use some of the AI tools that are available. So instead of something taking, perhaps 2 hours to post process, with a new device could do that in 20 minutes. And
Yes.
that's a
Yeah. Yeah.
substantial time saving that as a business owner, you're paying them an hourly rate or paying them a salary, and you can work out their hourly rate from that. And that wasted time of having old tools that doesn't allow them to do their job efficiently or within a suitable period of time is like a double-edged sword of wasting money.
Yes, it is. And
Yeah.
you mentioned like Windows 10. Is that like an operating system? Is it
Yes.
for the PC?
Windows 10's operating system released
Yeah.
many, many years ago now. Its successor, Windows 11, which the wide population uses, but lots of people out there still using Windows 7, amazingly enough. It's even more than a few years old.
Yeah, but you're imagining though, you're thinking though, maybe I'm thinking, oh look, I know how it works. I know what happens when I push this button and that button, that button. I've sort of got
Yeah.
familiar with it, so I'm not going to change. I can
No,
understand
that's
and
right.
be reluctant.
It's convenient. It's convenient. It's all about comfort and, excuse me, but change is good for the mind as well.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And I'm sure these releases um, have a lot of like what are the goodies in what have we gone from 10 to 11? Have we
Yep.
Windows 10?
Yep.
What are the goodies in 11 that aren't in 10?
So refreshed user interface. It's a more modern user interface. It flows different.
Yeah, yeah.
It introduced Windows more Microsoft's Copilot product, so
Okay.
competitor to ChatGPT and some of the other big AI names out there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
having integrated tools in the operating system, in the Office products, some of these tools at great expense. So it's sort of buyer beware that you are buying an expensive tool. Of course, there's been improvements in the stability of the operating system, which for your listeners, some might find that debatable, which I do too, because it's, yeah, Windows forever, the blue screen of death, which
Yeah,
that we're all
yeah.
not a fan of, I'm sure. Refreshed user interface, AI features, which Microsoft is driving very hard and have been for the last 2 years. That's why we've seen a lot of Microsoft products go up in price, some month-to-month prices if you're on one of their business products. And with that more modern operating system, you continue to get security updates. So that's their latest iteration, or at least their supported iteration. And Microsoft's whole concept around Windows 11 was serviceability. So being able to extend the life of it longer by being able to release updates for it in a different format to previous years, more of a modular release as opposed to an individual component release. So
Okay.
bits and pieces like that. That's not an exhaustive list, and it's probably not relative to dig that deep. It's just more about supported things. It's sort of the car that we love, and you've driven it and you know you can get parts for it, and then all of a sudden you can't get parts for it, or you need to have those parts custom made, or it's a risk that it's going to break down, or you're going to have an accident when the wheel falls off. That's why moving and going with the times is beneficial, because it is supported, it's well known, it's well understood,
Mm.
and it will continue to be protected from a security perspective.
Yeah, I guess you can trust Microsoft. But I'm commissioned from Microsoft, but
Mm.
I imagine you can trust them. I mean, they're a very well known, very widely used brand, and they do things. They do things in their mind. They do it well. They do it properly
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, not just limited to Microsoft. I mean, if we think about the Apple world of things, if you have an older MacBook, you'll get to a point where you'll get a software release and it slows right down. It won't be entitled to a modern operating system. And like Apple, Microsoft say that this flavor or this version of Apple's OS is serviced for a period of time, and then we're going to stop providing updates for it. We're going to stop providing patches. We're going to stop providing fixes for things. We're not going to solve bugs because we want you to move on and move on to a later version, which you might have a device that doesn't support it. Much like if you have a Windows 10 device that doesn't support Windows 11. It does happen.
Yeah, it does. And I'm sure as they release more patches, the operating system becomes a bit more problematic because they're patches on patches, working with patches,
Yeah, depends.
and you get
Yeah,
a
it
bit.
depends. And depends on the hardware. Having a good start's really, really important, that you've got good hardware from the start. You're not buying the bottom of the barrel. Sometimes that's all you can afford. I appreciate that and know what that's like. But middle of the road's often good. You're getting something that's going to be serviceable for a number of years.
So, what would your recommendations be for good hardware? You'd say what? A brand I know, a brand I'm aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we look for HP, Dell, Asus.
Yeah, they're all
Yeah,
good.
it's any sort of flavor that you can get at your local. And I mean, nearly every computer you can buy these days has a solid state drive in it, so it's a flash memory drive that's fast read, fast write, and shock proof to a point. So if you drop it, it's not gonna break apart and lose your data. And modern screens that allows you to work on the go. So that's really
Mm,
important too. Having something that's efficient
mm.
that you can keep kicking on if you like to sit on the lounge and work late at night, and you're not having to be constantly plugged into power.
Yeah.
So
Have have you
middle
got
of the
any
road.
have you got any favorite brands of hardware?
I'm a big fan of HP.
Okay.
Reason is I find their support fantastic.
Yeah.
Dell's would be second to that. Their
Okay.
support's very good. And I suppose behind the scenes of that, often the main boards, the components inside those devices are an Intel motherboard. There might be a Samsung screen, Samsung memory, Samsung hard drive. So, yeah, it just kind of depends where you're at. Some people have their favorites, and yeah, you have a hard time going wrong with a lot of those.
Yeah, 'cause they get more and more alike over time, don't they?
100%. Well, yeah, they're kind of the same thing. The same thing. They just look a little bit different on the outside.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what the usually happens in markets over time. Usually
It does.
competitors
Yeah.
start
The
like
support's important too. The support's important that
yeah,
if
yeah,
your
yeah,
if your machine breaks down on 4 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, you can log a service call
yeah,
and know that if your warranty is a 3-year 1-day turnaround, someone will come and see you on Monday or Tuesday and get you back up and running,
yeah, exactly, exactly.
rather than you having to run it back to the store. And yeah, there's a lot of inconvenience in that, especially when you're busy with all those hats, wearing all those hats in a business.
Yes, and as you mentioned earlier, you may need to have a lot of using a lot of graphics in your business in design, or so you got to
Yep,
make sure it's got the right graphics card or
absolutely. Yeah, the
to
right performance. Yeah,
the
the
right
right
perf-
mix.
right mix to support what you
What you're
individually need.
doing. Yeah, and that changes over time as well.
How
So,
does it change? How does it
well,
change?
just talking that reference of saying you had someone that came into the business that might have been doing a sales kind of role, so
Yeah, yeah.
making calls, doing orders, things like that.
Mm.
And they've then changed they've got an interest in graphic design or an interest in making the brochure or the interest of, working in Photoshop or working in some of the video tools. And
Okay,
all of a sudden they've got something that's not fit for purpose.
okay, okay. And then you find them something fit for purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. Giving them an upgrade and
Or ask someone like you what might be fit for purpose, because I
sure.
probably personally would have no idea how
Yeah.
to choose the right hardware for someone that needs a lot of graphics. I've no idea, but I'm thinking
Any time. I'm happy to.
you're happy to help. And you've mentioned AI a couple of times too,
Mm.
Brendan. You're saying that Microsoft are very big on that. It's certainly been, I'd say, in the past 12 months, the biggest single revolution I've seen in IT.
100%. And I wonder about the bubble of it, where we're going, because it's been big and it's going to revolutionize everything everywhere. And now, I suppose my main concern around it is the reliance on it. That
Mm,
it is a very useful tool, but I personally don't rely on it to tell me how to live my life and how to do exactly one thing one way or one thing the other way. It's good for
yeah,
inspiration. It's good for helping build out things, and then you put your own spin on it rather
yeah,
than just being generic kind of, I can tell this was not written by me.
a human or
And
by you.
and
Yeah,
the worst part about it is if you use AI tools to write, let's say, a 30 page sales pitch and you're not across it, and a customer looks at that and says, oh, hey, on page 28 at the bottom, there's a paragraph that talks about this thing. If you're not across that embarrassment of saying, hang on, let me just look at that. And it's, well,
Yeah,
didn't you
yeah.
write this? Like, surely you'd remember the thing you wrote, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's I guess in the IT world, that would be the biggest single change, and I'm wondering whether, so you're thinking we rely too much on AI?
I think there'll be a peak point at some
Yeah, yeah,
stage. I think the experience varies from the individual.
yeah, yeah,
Some may use more than others. I think it's great to get across it and use it where it's fit, but keep thinking and keep using it to expand your ideas
yeah,
rather than outright getting it to build the road for you and then you just have to drive on it. It's nice to use it as a reference. It's almost like having a really smart friend and saying, "Hey, I've got these 5 ideas. Which one do you think will work the best?" And they can
yeah, yeah,
expand on that and say, "Oh, hey,
yeah,
yeah, this
yeah.
is a good idea, and here's a way you could approach that."
I find it really useful in research too, because I do a lot of business coaching, and
Yes.
if I'm researching something, like I was coaching a group
Yeah.
recently in a big insurance company that were introducing this new AI-based, internal product, and I wanted to learn more about that product.
Sure.
So
Great
it's like
way.
in some ways like a
Yeah.
glorified Google in a
Well,
way.
yeah, you get an executive summary of, I suppose, the key points that help you have an
Yeah,
intelligible conversation with that customer to
yeah,
say, "Hey, I see this tool does this thing that no other does in the industry," and that's huge. That's huge
yeah,
for helping you rapidly understand or receive information
yeah, yeah,
rather than trawling through a large scope document or a large product
yeah, yeah.
feature set and then
And I
having to make
and
an
I prob
assumption that's important.
and I probably never would. I wouldn't have the time to read through.
Exactly.
I couldn't get all that together and I get it that quickly. Plus, there's so many different versions. I mean, I use. I'm in the Google workspace. I use Google Gemini, which is
Yep.
really great
Yeah,
inside
Gemini's good.
Google Workspace because it
Yes,
knows your documents, it knows your
it does.
email,
Yep. And
it
Microsoft
knows.
Copilot's just like that with 365. Same thing. Knows your documents, can
Yeah,
reference your documents.
yeah.
So yeah, exactly. You're
And it gets to know you. It refers
yeah.
back to things you did 3 months ago.
I know
It's scary in a way.
yeah, it's kind of like the archaeologist you didn't know you needed can dig up the
That's
past.
right. That brings up stuff in the past. So I like there's Google Gemini, which is awesome. I also use ChatGPT, which
Yep.
is a more generic for me.
Yes.
Plus Grok's very good.
Yeah, it is.
The Grok's very cool. And recently I've been toying with DeepSeek.
Yes. Also interesting.
Interesting, but it's interesting. It's not as updated as the others, but for a lot of that more research based stuff I was talking about earlier, DeepSeek it seems like more academic,
Yes.
more
Yeah, it's useful for that.
that way. Although there's concerns about is it reading all your emails? I don't know, but if you're letting AI in, I mean, Google knows everything about me already. I don't think
Yeah, pretty
DeepSeek's going
much.
to find out anything else that I'm going to be like overthrowing a government
Yeah,
or
and that's the trust, and that's where I suppose boundaries aren't like information boundaries in organizations are important too. If you're an organization, let's say with 365 with the Copilot product, having information barriers where you can limit what the AI has access to. You can say that you can see all of this, but none of that.
oh, really?
And that's almost like a workplace protection flow of information because with things like Copilot, you might be sharing that information amongst colleagues and workers
Mm.
and having information barriers is really important. That could be information barriers around employee details, so employee files that might talk about there's an employee who was sick, maybe they were mentally ill, maybe they went through a cancer treatment that was very private to them. That's documented in a HR document somewhere within SharePoint. Copilot has access to it, and another staff member, which this is where you can be really clever with things like AI, might ask the question, where was Judy for the last 2 months? And if Copilot has access to that information, it can reference that and say, well, it appears in this document that Judy was away, undergoing a treatment of some description, which I think someone would be shocked that that's available inadvertently, of course. So those information barriers to protect access are super important as well.
Okay. And so you can program whatever AI tool you're using
Yes.
to okay.
Or in this specific example relates to Microsoft 365's Copilot.
Yeah, yeah.
Other things like ChatGPT integrations, there are some restrictions, but it depends on your integration, depends on what you're doing, and depends on what you're trying to achieve.
Okay, okay, okay. So it sounds like, as usual, Microsoft is the safer way to go. It's been my experience pretty much. They're a little bit not quite as shiny, not quite as great,
Yeah.
but great systems,
different,
safer. Yeah,
different.
like a probably more risk-averse
And
approach.
depending on the business, that it may not be important.
Yeah.
A business owner may say, we don't keep that information
Mm.
there. We use a cloud ERP, and that cloud employment system isn't connected to Copilot. It wouldn't know about it. But I
Yeah.
mean, the information could be in an email. So yeah, information barriers are really important.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds this is really interesting stuff,
Mm.
Brendan. And we're gonna put your contact details in the show notes of the podcast. So if people want to reach out to you
Thank
and
you. We appreciate that.
continue this conversation in
Sure.
more depth, I'd strongly encourage it. We didn't mention this earlier, but Brendan actually happens to be a mate of mine as well as all this. I could disclose that, right? And I think in saying that I can safely vouch for any advice you get from this guy is going to be great advice. And I would recommend you have that conversation. We
Thank
start
you,
that
Pete. I
conversation.
appreciate that. I mean, for us, our small managed service IT business has been about uplifting security and uplifting and turning bad IT experiences into positive, productive ones. There
Yeah.
are a lot of small businesses that have managed service providers or have, I suppose, IT support that they don't get the care that perhaps they need or the responsiveness that they need. And I know what it's like not being able to work on something. You're trying to get something done and you can't because systems let you down or there's some sort of blockage there, and being able to reach out. I mean, we practically operate 24 hours, 365 days a year. So that support at 10 o'clock at night saying, hey, I've got this issue. Can you look at it? Making that available is invaluable for some.
It
Mm.
certainly is. Brendan, thank you for being a guest on the Buddies podcast today.
Thank you, Pete. Appreciate it.
I loved that conversation with Brendan. I like the amount of care he's got and the amount of intelligence he has around this whole IT environment for small businesses. He really does understand small businesses and he cares about them a lot. Brendan's a personal friend of mine. I know how much he cares about his clients. If you're keen to know more about small business marketing and how to grow your business, please check out Buddies at buddies.com or find the Buddies community on Facebook. I look forward to seeing you there. Until next time, this is Peter Anthony on the Buddies podcast saying bye for now.